right, we're live. As always, if you'd like to come work with me, suitsandposing.com is where you have to go. We do hair, makeup, suits and posing, all of the fun stuff when it comes to bikini, figure, wellness, women's physique, all of them. Muscles, yes, muscles. I got muscles on my shirt. Muscle vodka, by the way. Yes, muscle vodka, which I got at Tampa Pro last year, which we are sponsoring this year. So if anybody's going to Tampa, I'll see you there. Come say hi. Can't miss me with the hair. Yes, and tonight we are going to wrap up the Omaha Pro. We are not wrapping up Patriots because there's no pictures or anything like that out yet. So I can't really make any kind of analysis since we don't really have any photos or videos or anything to go off of. I know people did try to go live at that show, but the signal was really bad. I did notice that there were a few videos that were posted, that kind of thing, but nothing we could really make any kind of conclusions off of. So, you know, once they get the pictures up, if it goes up this week, we will go ahead and we will do a review of Patriots. But if not, then we'll just have to move on to the next one. But as you guys know, at Patriots, Ashley Kowalser did win that. Coming in second was Vanya, which I thought was awesome. Vanya comes onto our live feeds a lot. I've known Vanya for a while. I don't work with Vanya, but one of the things I thought was really cool is one of the things that I mentioned here on our live feed for BSPN a few times, I think it was after Girl Power, I think that's when I mentioned it, was a few adjustments I'd like to see her do with her suit. And she actually made those adjustments for the show that she came back for, this Patriots show, and it looked fantastic. It was perfect. And I actually DM'd her and said, you know, great job. This was exactly what I thought would look best on you. And well, look at that. She ended up in second place when she was placed in, you know, outside the top 5. Not saying I had anything to do with that, but I'm just saying I love that worked out for her. You know what I mean? Like, it was a way better look for her. I was really happy to see that, so that made me happy. Anyway, that was my little tidbit from Patriots at this point. Yes, yay for Vanya, right? Exactly. So congratulations to her, because I know she's been pushing hard for that all year to get back up into that top call out. So anyway, now that we have everybody on, I haven't really seen a notification pop up yet, but we're gonna go ahead and run right into Omaha here. And tonight I'm really gonna kind of go over the top 8. I know that's a really random number, but I'm gonna go over the top 8 because of who fell into the 8th place position. So I'll kind of work from the bottom 8th place up. I do know my stuff, Karen. I do, absolutely. So, obviously this show, Jessica Wilson won it, so I was super happy about that. We will talk about her at the end, and all of the fun things that go along with her win, which I thought was fantastic, and I got all emotional, and I know a lot of other people did as well, so we'll get into that at the very end. But I want to start out with Crystal Bellina in 8th place. And the reason why I want to start with her is because she is a previous Olympia competitor. She's competed at 2 Olympias. And she's come into shows and won them. She's from Spain. You know, I think we mentioned her on the preview that she could potentially be in the top 5. And I don't think I've ever seen her outside of the top 5. I think this is the first time I've ever seen her outside of the top 5. So I think she's spent this whole time still in Spain. I don't think she's really been here to, you know, pose with anybody or work with anybody here. I don't know, to be honest with you, but I'm just assuming based on the look that she brought to the stage. So there's a few things that I would like to see Crystal Bellina. Sorry, I said Carolina because Carolina just logged on. Crystal Bellina. There's a few things I'd like to see Crystal Bellina change. First of all, when she first, you know, came on the scene, she was a blonde. I like her better as a blonde. I don't think that this brown hair really suits her very well. I think it just kind of makes her kind of get muted into the background a little bit. I thought the blonde was much better on her. If I was her, I would go back to the blonde hair. I think it just made her pop a little bit better. I did like her suit. I thought her suit was pretty, but again, I think it all kind of just got muted. I think nothing on her really popped a lot, and maybe if she had the blonde hair, that might help. That might be one thing that she could fix. The other thing, 2 main things that she really needs to work on if she wants to continue to compete at this level and move up is her posing and her overall conditioning as well. So her posing was definitely very off. This was posing, I can't even say this posing was popular in the last 2 years. She's very, very straight on. I'd like to see her twist a little bit more in her front pose. I think that would really help her show her frame, her physique a little bit better. I'm not sure why she posed so straight on and pushed into the hip quite so much. Again, I'm not sure who she's working with and things like that, but that's an easy fix if she can just fix that front pose. I think that would display her body and her physique a lot better than what she did at the show. I think the last time she was on stage was Olympia, so I'm sure she's probably coming into this like trying to change some things, make some other things work, that kind of thing. And then when you go and you look at her back pose, she's overarching in her back pose, which makes her glutes look flat. And I'm going to get into the conditioning part as well, but she's physically pushing back way too hard in that back pose, which makes her glutes look flat. It makes her hamstrings really like strong hamstrings. Like, that's not the word I'm looking for, but you guys, if you pull up her pictures, you can see what I'm talking about. I'm looking at her pictures on NPC News Online, so if you want to pull up the pictures, you'll be able to see it. And when I edit this for YouTube, you'll be able to see this too, because I'm going to put this all together. But because of that overarch, we lose the pop in her glutes, and it just looks really flat. It looks really like no dimension in the back. So if she stood up a little bit taller, that would really help. Relax her arms down. The reason why you can tell she's overarching too is because of her arms. Her arm position, you can tell she's pushing back really hard on the lower part of her body. There's a fine line. There's no pushing, it's tilting. So she needs to kind of back off on the pushing and tilt. If she could do that on both her back and her front poses, that would really display her physique a lot better. Now the other part of this is she was overly conditioned too. She needs to fill out a little bit. Now she's okay as far as how lean she is right now. Like I'm okay with her being this lean, but she just needs to pop it some more. She needs to fill out some more. So it's like, I use this analogy a lot with the ladies that I work with. It's like a grape and a raisin. We talked about this on different live feeds and stuff too. Right now she looks like a raisin. She just needs to add some fullness to pop her back out to be a grape, right? So she doesn't need to get any leaner. She doesn't need to get any softer. She just needs to fill out. I think if she could make a few of these little tweaks, we could see her move up pretty quickly. Because she doesn't have a bad frame. She's got great glutes. She's just not showing them properly. That's all. She's got a great front pose too, if she poses correctly. I don't have any of her old poses up, so I don't really remember what her old front pose used to look like. But it's if it was this, it needs to be updated with this year's standards and this year's what they're looking for, right? So if she can get with somebody that can just fix a few of these things for her, these little tweaks, she can do much, much better. So I wanted to start with her because again, she is a previous Olympia competitor 2 times. She's been to the Olympia twice. So I would like to see her. I saw her make a post, I think it was today or it was yesterday or something like that, where she was considering going back to Spain. And I think if she could just make a few minor adjustments to how she presents herself on stage, she could very easily move up very quickly. So that's my 2 cents on that. So I wanted to start with her. And then we're going to go move on to 7th place, which is Sierra. So Sierra came out with a new suit, which I am a big fan of. I think this looks great on her. I like the red on her a lot. I've been critical of her tan having kind of a greenish hue to it before. She doesn't have that here, and I think it's because she switched from the green to the red suit. Now, maybe she fixed the issue with the tan as well, which took away that green tint, but she doesn't look green at all here, and I think that the red was a good choice. I like the cut. I like the color. I think it looks really good on her. She did a couple other things that I like too, like she trimmed her hair up a little bit in her back pose. So this is something I've mentioned quite a few times for a lot of ladies. If they just trim their hair a little bit so that it comes up and you see a little bit of that lower back, versus the hair actually hitting the glutes, then it's a much more flattering look. She did that here. She got her hair to be about an inch above her bikini line, which really, really helped. I actually thought her glutes and her back pose looked really good here. This is probably the best back pose I've seen on her so far. But with that, it also looks like what they tried to do is they tried to soften her up a little bit and fill her out, which worked from the back. But when you look at her from the front, it puts a little bit of water on the waistline. Now, this is always going to be a battle. When you're trying to soften up a little bit, the first place for a lot of girls, when you soften up, the water goes into the waistline. So, it's really, really hard to find a good balance on that. A good example of somebody who was like that this year was Alessia Fashin. Sometimes she would nail it and her glutes would be nice and full and her waistline would be nice and tight, and then other times she had some distension in her lower abs from the filling out too much. So it's going to be a balancing act. Overall, I think this is the right direction for Sierra. There's going to need to be a few fine-tuning details that comes into place to make sure that that waistline comes in just as tight and she can keep the rest of her just as full. The glutes look really nice in this particular show. I just want to see that waistline come in a little bit tighter. So if she could do that, I think that would be right on for her. I don't know what that's going to involve. I don't know how they're going to accomplish that, but if they just keep trying things, I'm sure they'll find it. Just like they did with Alessia. Alessia, the same thing. Took her a few times to get it, but once she nailed it, she ended up winning shows. 2 shows, right? She won 2 shows? I think she won 2 shows. I can't remember. Anyway, she won at least 1, if not 2. Once she got it right. So just keep trying. Just keep trying to get that perfect balance right there. Okay, so moving on to Kaylee. So I'm not really familiar with Kaylee. I've heard the name before, but I'm not super familiar with her. And when I'm looking at her and Sierra in call-outs and comparisons, I feel like it could have been flip-flopped either way. The one thing that Sierra had over Kaylee is Sierra's glutes were tighter and fuller. The one thing that Kaylee had over Sierra was her waistline was tighter. So it's like a catch-20. Like, it could have flipped either way in those 2 positions, I think. With Kaylee, she's nice and tight through that waistline, and the one area I think she needs to work on is from her back pose. When you look at her back pose, she's just a little bit flat. She bends down into it a little bit as she tries to transition, which I'm not a huge fan of. If you scroll through her pictures, there's a shot of her transitioning into her back pose where she's squatting. You have to be really careful about that. That squat look is not a good look. So just try to, if you are doing that even in a transition moment, if the camera catches it, that means the judges caught it too. So just be careful with that. Make sure that you transition into your back pose smoothly and up nice and tall. From the back, she looks great, but she just needs a little bit more pop, just a little bit. She's a little bit dry. She's another one that is similar to Crystabellina. Crystabellina was actually a lot drier than her, but she could use a little bit more fullness back there, just a little bit more fullness. Sierra's the sweetest in the world. She told me I forgot to rub in the posing oil on my glutes before stepping on stage. Well, good, she saved you. But yeah, so I think that Kaylee is really close. One thing I would like to see different on Kaylee is her makeup. Her makeup was a little bit too neutral for me. With her face, it all kind of blended together. So she needs to pop something, whether it's her lips or her eyes or something. Everything looked really flat on her makeup. So I think if she could do that and just bring a little bit of oomph, either, again, just pop her eyes or pop her lips or something like that, I think that would present very well for her. I don't know how tall she is, but she was the tallest competitor in that first call out. So she has a really well balanced frame. So the 2 things I'd like to see her, 3 things I'd like to see her tweak would be filling out a little bit more in the glutes to get a little bit more of that 3D pop in the glutes. And I'd like to see a little bit of more pop to her makeup, and I'd like to see her fix her transition as she gets into her back pose so it doesn't look like she's squatting. So those are the things I'd like to see improve on her. But overall, I think she has a really, really good frame. Very nice X frame. Very well balanced from top to bottom too. Let's see. Everybody in this first call out too had really good tans. So that's something I wanted to mention. Everybody had really nice skin tones, and every single person did. So that was good. Whoever you guys used for your tanning, you did great. So let's see. So that was Kaylee. And then we're gonna move on to Aisha. So we haven't seen Aisha in a little bit. I think last time she competed was last year. This is one of the better looks I've seen on Aisha. She has won a show before, but that was the year that they were doing qualifying by points, and she didn't get enough points, so she didn't actually go to the Olympia, even though she won a show. So, when I saw her come out in this condition, I thought she looked great. Now, I did see a post where she said she was nursing an injury, I think something with her knee or something like that. I can't remember exactly what it was. And that could be potentially where we see a little bit of imbalance in the glutes. Now, from the back, I actually thought she had the fullest pop to her glutes. I thought of everybody on that first call out. I thought she looked really good. However, she is a little imbalanced. Her left glute is much bigger than her right. So it could be partly to do with the injury that she's dealing with. And she's just got to take some time to actually heal that and rehab that. Aisha got 3rd. Oh, did she? You know what? You're right. I didn't even see that. I'm just going through the thing, but you're right, absolutely. 2.6 is there. Oh, Oh, you're right. Good catch. I didn't even notice that. You're right. She took third. You're right. Absolutely. So I'm going to keep talking about Aisha since we're there, but yes, you're right. She took third. They did screw this up. They put 6 next to her name and also next to Kaylee. Awesome. So sorry about that, Aisha, but she did take third. I'm going to continue to talk about her since we're already on her. Anyways, so she's one of these ones that has an amazing stage presence every time she walks on stage. Like she just owns the stage. Like that's her big thing, right? So I think a little bit of help with that, whatever injury she's nursing and things like that could help with her balance and her back pose. But again, I thought her glutes popped the most out of the top 3. I remember watching a video of the top 3 that they posted on the NPC Midwest Instagram, and of the 3 of them, I thought her glutes popped the most. Now with the front pose, I think she's a little bit heavy on the upper body, but I know she's gotten critiqued before about her waistline. So she brought her waistline in really nicely. She just needs a little bit more tweaking on that front pose in order to really hit it right. She looks a little bit like, it's almost like her lats out a little too much. Just a touch. Just needs to bring it in just a touch. Now, I'd also like to see a brighter color on her. She's worn purple in the past, and I loved that purple on her. This I thought was a little bit too dark for her. But overall, I like the hair. I like all of that. I like her whole presence. And she might want to come in just a touch tighter in the legs, but just a touch, if anything, just a touch. Overall, this is a really, really good package for her, though. I thought it was very stunning. This is probably the best Aisha I've seen in a while. And the fact that she's coming in on an injury and everything like that, looking like this, that's nothing to sneeze at right there. So she did a great job. And I actually, again, from the back, I thought she had the best back shot in that top call out. Let's see, as far as pop is concerned. Let's see. So now we'll move on to 5th place, which is Carolina. So Carolina, she's racking up those points too. So with Carolina, we still got to work a little bit on that posing. She's one where the tan could have been a little bit darker for her. I think it came off a little orange. It was very even top to bottom, very even tan. But I felt like the color was just a touch off. Maybe, I don't know if it looks like it's pro tan. Maybe she just needs to go like a touch darker on it. That would have helped. But she's looking a little bit top heavy here. Just needs to relax that upper body a little bit more. Now, truth be told, I did work with Carolina on her posing going into this show, and this is one of the things that, muscle memory is strong, you guys. So we have to work on, kind of getting that upper body to relax a little bit more. And I think that would be helpful for her. And then once we get into the back pose, she's bending a little bit too much in the back pose too. So just like we talked about with Crystal Bellina. Crystal Bellina was bending too much in the back pose. Carolina's doing the same thing here. She just needs to stay up a little bit taller and let those arms relax a little bit. And a lot of that comes from nerves. A lot of that comes from muscle memory and just trying to break that habit, that kind of thing. If she could have done that, I think her glutes would have filled out a little bit more. Hamstrings, everything, the pop back there is nice. Every time she gets on stage, she's got great pop to her frame. Waistline is teeny tiny. We've always talked about that. So, and she did move up and do better from what she did at her last show at the DC Pro-Am. So she got some more Olympia points here. So I think if we can really just nail this posing and maybe get that tan just a little bit more brown versus orange, I think that would really, really play well for her. But overall, really good package, and glad to see that she went up a little bit, racking up those Olympia points. You know what I mean? Up in that top 5, gotta rack up those Olympia points. That's awesome that you're working with her on posing. Excited to see how she evolves. Her shape is awesome. It is. Her shape is crazy. It's very, very, it's freak factor in a good way. Cartoon factor. So yeah, so she looked great. Let's move on to Miss Alejandra, who's here on our live with us. She is one of our sponsored athletes. This is her first show back since Tampa last year. So it's been almost a full year she's been off stage. Her critiques last year was that she needed to come back with some more size, some more muscle, and she did that. So this was a very good look for her to come back to. Absolutely, killed it as far as that is concerned. So overall shape looks really, really good. I'm going to be nitpicky in that her hair was covering her face a little bit in some of these shots. I didn't like that. I want to get the hair up off your face. So do what you got to do to get the hair to swing back off your face. Show that beautiful face. Anytime you ladies have hair that falls in front of your face, get it off. Get it off your face so we can see that beautiful smile. We can see that beautiful face. anytime it falls into your face. Now, the one critique that I would give to Alejandra is I think that we need to soften up a little bit. And by a little bit, I mean a little bit. Like, her conditioning and her pop of her muscle is ridiculous, like amazing. This is something that she got critiqued on in the NPC, where she would come in too hard, and then as soon as she softened up just a touch, she, boom, won her pro card like that. You know, there was a couple of shows she went into national level where she was top 2, and she was just a touch too hard. So as soon as she came in a little bit softer, she won her pro card. I think the same thing has to happen here. I think just a little bit softer, a little bit fuller. And when I say a little bit, I mean a little bit. You know, same thing I said about Krista Bellina. Like, it's just a touch. It's just a touch. And this is so hard of a balance, because you go one way and you're too soft. You go the other way and you're too hard. So it's right down the line there. So overall, I thought that her posing was very, very well balanced. I mean, just saying, because I helped her with that part of it. So, but, you know, she executed it well too. Like, it's one thing to have posing lessons. It's another thing to actually execute it well. And I think that her frame is, her frame is Olympia quality. It is 100% Olympia quality, you know? That's what Derek told me, the head judge, to come in 5% softer. Yep. You know exactly what you're talking about. Thank you. Go, imagine that. You meant, and Tarek, that I'm sure that was a autocorrect, right? You're making my day. Good. Well, I do. I really believe that you can be on the Olympia stage, Alejandra. I do. And it's just a matter of finding that balance. You know, that's the hardest thing about this pro league. You thought it was hard coming up in the NPC. It just got that much harder up here in the pro league, right? So I think her balance from top to bottom is great. It's right on. It's right where it needs to be. Posing is right where it needs to be. All of those things. We just need to bring you in a touch softer, just a touch softer, and then you'll be right on. So that's a great feedback to have as your first show coming back from having a long off season. You put the size on that you needed. Now it's just a matter of fine tuning that conditioning and that leanness for you. Smiling so hard and taking notes. Good. Yeah, get that hair off your face. That's your note. But I actually, again, I love this suit on you. You know that. I love this suit on you, but I love this color tan on you too. This tan looks really, really good on you as well. So I thought everything came together very, very nicely. Now it's just a matter of getting that final detail, just softening you up just a touch. So let's move on. Okay, we already talked about Aisha, who did take third because they messed up the order on NPC News. So now we're going to go to Anya, who took second for Anya. So this is a good look for Anya too. Now again, she's one that they gave critiques to that was a little bit too big in the glutes as far as muscle was concerned. So I can see that. All right, so back to Anya. So the critiques that she's gotten is she's been a little bit too big in the glutes, that kind of thing. So I know she's trying to streamline that, which I felt like she did do that here. But I also felt like it deflated her just a little bit. She didn't have quite as much pop as she's had before. So it's, again, we're talking about this balance aspect. It's a really tough balance to bring things in a little bit smaller or a little bit softer or a little bit this or a little bit that. I think this was a good attempt. I was trying to pull that muscularity down, but what it did is she kind of lacked that pop in the glutes. From the front, I thought she looked great. From the front, this is the best I've seen her look from the front. From the back, she just deflated a little bit, so she's got to pump that back out. Right? So she was a little bit deflated in the glutes, right? So again, I think that they were trying to do this. You know what I mean? Like, because she was getting critiques that her glutes were too much. So what do? You pull it down a little bit, and this is what happens, right? So it's finding that balance. I still think this was a great look for her. I just like to see her pop a little bit more in the glute. Because from the front, I thought she looked great. Pretty look. I love this. I do love this look on her. You know, like I've told you guys before, I have been critical of red suits and red lips, but I think she pulls it off well here because she has fixed the makeup overall. So the fact that she has fixed the makeup overall has really helped with her look. Hair is nice and even and shiny and all that stuff. We've talked about that too with blondes. That can always be an issue sometimes. She doesn't have that problem. Her shape from the front is amazing. Shape from the back is too. Just needs to pop the glutes just a little. No, that's so hard. You guys, these little things that we're talking about, like it's teeny tiny little adjustments to up and down. And I've said this on pretty much every girl that I've talked about tonight. It's just teeny tiny little adjustments. And it's just finding that sweet spot. And it's never going to be the same twice. It's like catching lightning in a bottle sometimes, you know? So you've just got to hit it on, right? So overall, I thought she looked great. I thought this was a good placing for her. And she's increasingly creeping up, you know, every time. She went from 4th, 3rd, 2nd. So, you know, hopefully next time it'll be a win. And then an Olympia qualification, right? So let's see. Finally, we are at Jessica Wilson, who I have known for a long, long time. She has been grinding on this forever to get this win, you guys. And if I remember correctly, I believe this is her first win ever. Like an Ashlyn kind of situation. I could be wrong on that, but I believe this is her first win ever. This was her win. This was the best that I've seen her look from the back. Now, I have mentioned this before. I think that her front pose is a perfect bikini front pose. You know, there's been shows where she's been up against Ashley Kaltwasser, and I was like, if I could take Jessica from the front and Ashley from the back and put them together, that would be like your perfect bikini girl right there. This is the best that she's ever looked from her glutes. Front pose nailed it. She nails her front pose every time. She nails her presence every time. The part that we always have to critique a little bit is that back pose, but she hit it right this time. She hit it right on this time. Let me pull her back pose up. Where is it? There it is. So she's got some nice full pop. She's got that outer glute. It's popped up high. She's got that tie-in with her hamstrings and everything there too. So a little bit of fullness to the legs. This is the best her shape has looked from the back, by far. Now, she can still improve. Obviously can still improve. Everybody can still improve. So I'd like to see her get a little bit more pop on those glutes by the time she gets on stage for Olympia. And now she has time to do that. She's been improving her physique even while getting on stage week over week over week. And she's got, 14 weeks or something like that till Olympia, so she's got time now to go put some weight in there and really get those glutes to fill out for her from the back. Just told me it was her first win ever. She got a pro card after placing 2nd, first win ever. Yeah, that's what I thought. I was pretty sure it was her first win ever. So that's pretty phenomenal. You know, a lot of things about Jess that people know. You know, she's a vet. You know, she's a doctor, so she's all about giving back and loves animals, which, you know, personally, that's something that hits me right here. Personally, she's a very smart lady. Like, that's something that I love talking about too, because sometimes you forget about the fact that these women have lives outside of the stage, and the fact that she's able to do what she does and be a high-level competitor is definitely hugely commendable. Also, she is 39 years old. Her birthday's actually like 10 days after mine, so I'm older than her by like 10 days. So she also is 39, almost 40 years old. And that is a feat in and of itself to be getting on the stage at that age. But she also ends up giving hope to everyone that's in that age range. Like, if you just put the work in and you grind it out, you can get there. Now, you got to understand too, she's been pushing for this win for 7 years. For 7 years, you guys. This didn't happen overnight. This didn't happen her first pro season. This has been 7 years she's been trying to get this win, right? She's amazing. She's absolutely amazing. If you want to find somebody that you can look up to in this sport, she's a great example of that. You know, she's a wife. She's got her own business. She's a doctor. She's 39 years old, and she's getting on the Olympia stage. If she can do it, you can do it. Right? And this didn't come easy to her. She grinds every year. It's not just this year too. I mean, we've seen her grinding this year, but she grinds every single year, and she finally made it. She didn't take no for an answer. Right? So this is somebody that you can really look up to. And if you're not following her already, you should be, because she's just a great person to be following. And again, very inspirational. I know for me, it inspires me at my age to be pushing the same way she is. If she can do it, I can do it. You know what I mean? So I was super happy about seeing this happen for her. I I figured it was just going to be a matter of time for her. And after prejudging, I messaged her and I was like, I'm crossing my fingers. We never count our chickens before they're hatched, but I'm hoping and praying this is your night. And it was. And I couldn't be happier about that. And I think this is her best look that she's had all year. So that's a fantastic way to win a show. And I look forward to seeing what she does for the Olympia. I look forward to seeing how she comes in for the Olympia. So this was a great show, you guys. This was a really good show. And at that, I will take this video and I will edit it with pictures and show you what I was talking about, and put it up on our YouTube. It's been a little bit since we've had a YouTube video up because we haven't had a whole lot of coverage. They had a lot of coverage for DC Pro-Am, but all their videos are up on the TSG YouTube channel, so go check that out if you haven't seen all that, because they still are posting, like every day they're posting up new clips from that show. So we'll get rocking and rolling through this new week and a fun new weekend coming up with more shows and more Olympic qualifications going out. And also realize that these shows from here on out are going to start to get super hard, because all of the girls that placed in the top 10 at the Olympia are now coming back to regain their spots back in that Olympic qualification list. So hold on to your hats. Starting this weekend, it's getting rough and tough. All right, you guys, have a great night. Have a great week. And if you want to come and work with me, you know what to do. Go to suitsandposing.com. And that's it. That's all I got. So thanks for hanging with me with the interruptions from my battery. And we'll be back on YouTube, hopefully, but we'll get this edited by tomorrow for you. That's my goal. Always my goal, get it up the next day. So, and we're off to the races for another week. Have a great rest of your evening, you guys. Good night.